All right, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back, boys and girls, to another episode of the Three Man Week College Basketball Podcast. Matthew Cox running the point guard position tonight, lead guard, quasi combo guard, whatever you want to have you. Kai McKeon will be flanking me. Jim Root also flanking me. It is the dead smack heart of summer. Content options are sparse, whatever. That's a new word.
Sparse.
And we are reaching for clickbait content. Hence the title of this podcast episode, which we will name before I even do the outline when we are post-production. Clickbait Mania. We're going to rank some stuff because people like rankings. People like seeing where they fall relative to others, where their guys fall, where their teams fall. Always great social media banter and an easy excuse for us to post some content. Jim, Kai, how are you? I'll start with Jim.
Great. I'm back in Wisconsin, hanging at my mom's, dropping off my car for the summer because I don't want to pay for parking in downtown Chicago. Got my butt whipped by some 65-year-old retirees in pickleball yesterday, but my knee held up. So it's all a win from there. A little disheveled. We've got a lot of calls going on with coaches. So I know all three of us are active behind the scenes, getting ready for the season, but it's all good. Matthew, it's a nice day out, looking out at the lake. Happy to be here. Happy to talk hoops with my fellas.
The All Caps Almanac. Kai, how are you on your Almanac progress currently?
Oh boy. I wasn't good last week, but tell you what, man, I made some progress this week. I've had 12 coach calls in the last 3 days. I got 3 more tomorrow.
Ooh, heavy.
Moving and shaking. I tell you what, they've been great so far this year. We talked offline. It's been a better conversation, I would say, with most of these coaches. Perhaps the Almanac, Matthew, has gained some steam.
Yeah, they respect us, right? They don't think we're a bunch of rookie schlubs. So that's nice. I do appreciate that. And they say 2 previews a day keeps the doctor away. That is the goal I am trying to hit, as I have a honeymoon trip lingering that will throw a wrench in my progress. So I got to front load much of my previews. But yeah, get ready, folks. That's coming. Design in progress. Stay tuned. If you bought it last year, you have zero excuse to not buy it again this year. If you did not buy it last year, you had no excuse to not buy it last year. And we will give you an excuse if you come through for us this year. Very simple. Onto the podcast, self-promotion, selfless promotion. Jay Pitty, Joe Paskoff, the all-time DJ producer when it comes to college basketball intro, outro music. We thank you for your fine work. Please follow us on Twitter. That's at 3MW_CBB if this is the first time you're hearing about us. Subscribe to our podcast, Amazon, Spotify, other platforms where you can leave us reviews of the 5-star variety, only 5 stars. And you can write us a friendly little blurb, and Kai will read it back to you as he will do such right now. Kai.
I will also add, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already subscribed. And catch us live. We have no fancy production at this point. We just go live with this ourselves.
It's on the prompter there. I should have read that. Sorry.
It doesn't look beautiful, but hey, if you want to see our faces, you want to join us and get the live discussion as it is. We would love to have you at our YouTube channel. Yes, 3 reviews this week, guys. Logan12348 says best college basketball pod. Hello, boys. Wanted to give a review as I was lucky enough to find you last year. Oh, fantastic. Great info, great banter. Really enjoy the pod. You guys are super helpful. Yes. Although sometimes it's painful to listen to Matt's Duke love.
I agree.
Deal with it.
Cry laugh emoji, Matthew.
I side with the reviewer here. It's painful.
Deal with it.
He says, keep them coming. You're all the best. Awesome. Toasted Beats says Yale. That's the title of the review. Am I wrong to think Yale is the runaway favorite in the Ivy next year with aspirations of an 11 seed? They only lose Jarvis from last year. They lost to Princeton finals last year with a hobbled Noling. They bring in their top recruit ever this season, and Harvard, Penn, Princeton lose a lot. Jim, I'm in on Yale. I'm all the way in.
Yeah, I believe our buddy Gus Kearns kind of asked something similar-ish, like if this could be an at-large caliber team out of the Ivy. I'm not really willing to go all the way to at-large, but just kind of looking up and down the Ivy rosters, I would tend to agree with this assessment. Our guy Lucas Harkins will be drafting up the Ivy for the Almanac. Kai, he's going to be the one most plugged in here, but just on a peripheral glance at it, I'm with this assessment.
Yeah, Princeton will get like the postseason premium bump in everyone's rankings. Probably not warranted given who they lost and what Yale is coming back. Yeah, I think Yale wins by multiple games. That's my prediction.
Jones is in like his 15th, 16th season as head coach, and they've been pretty dominant in his tenure, at least in the last decade or so. And finally, longtime listener says, Roots Roundup intro breakdown. He's re-upping this review. Apparently, we skipped this review a couple episodes ago.
Ah.
Sometimes it takes a while to get into the feed, the reviews. So he's got 3 topics for us to discuss really quick. Number 1 is for Matthew. Can we get a breakdown of what clips are being used in the Roots Roundup intro? Obviously recognizes The Office, and I hear Michael Cera's voice in there.
Yes.
But he doesn't
very
know what any
keen.
of the non-Office content is. Please educate us, Matthew.
Michael
Where are
Cera
you taking?
from Superbad, specifically the scene when he is
Yes.
in the back room and they're all doing hard narcotics and he is sort of out of place right before they make him sing. What's the song he sings? You'll sing and you'll sing well.
Those
I
eyes
don't remember.
are crying.
Yeah.
I'm crying. Those eyes have seen a lot of it. Yep.
Good one.
Other clips, I need to round them up and then I'll share the final. I actually was thinking about doing a refresh. It might be time. I tried to get some Jim Root, the guitarist of what band, Jim?
Slipknot.
Slipknot.
Yeah, that's
Doesn't
might
have
be
a lot
little
of
harsh
quotable
on the
content
ears.
out there.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
tough
don't
to
think
get in there.
people don't really know Slipknot that well. And then Slipknot's guitarist is probably even a deeper cut there. So
the people that know Slipknot know it. I just don't know there's a lot of
Yeah.
Venn diagram going on between our pod and
Yeah.
Slipknot fans.
I
I
But
can't
hey,
imagine so.
Matt, if you refresh it, trim it to like 24
Too long.
seconds
Yeah,
or
it's too
something.
long.
Yeah. Can't be
Yeah,
longer
it
than the
was
shot
long.
clock. That's what I'll say.
Ooh,
Uh,
good call. Good barometer.
Topic 2. We said recently on this last episode that the transfer portal phase, probably 2 episodes ago, will end when the COVID years pass by. Says he has a hard time believing that given social context. Seems like the floodgates have opened. I would say, I think I'll rephrase in terms of the transfer portal will end, Jim, in terms of I think it'll be less chaotic and maybe you won't see as many guys left hanging by the portal with the COVID guys gone.
Yeah, if we said end, that's incorrect, and he's correct to call us out. It's going to simmer down some because there will be no more extra year of eligibility guys. There's a lot of schools, and maybe not a lot, but there are schools with no grad programs. So if guys graduate, they have to transfer, and especially with 5th year, there's a lot more of those. Ty, it'll also be a little tamer with the entrance after the deadline because there will be less grad transfers again because of the lack of the COVID year. So I just think it's going to make it more handleable. And with the way guys are seeing, I think NIL will die down a little bit too, where donors aren't going to see as much return on their money, where the money amount won't be as high in the portal. So I think there's going to be factors that simmer it down. But I mean, there will still be 900 people in the portal every year, at least.
Yeah.
I would guess.
You're going to
No
see some
better
reigns
time. Yeah.
on
go ahead.
NIL, Matthew. I think you're going to see some reigns on the NIL eventually.
Right. No better time to be a player than like this past year if you were a sophomore to a senior. I mean, if you were 4 years younger, you're like in the high school class getting kind of squeezed. If you're older, you missed the money boat, but congrats to those of you who timed your birth well. Nice job.
The last topic from longtime listener. He's a music composer for film, TV, other media. He says, we know we have our guy in Jay Pitty, but if you ever decide to add some extra jingles, transition music, honestly, I would be interested in this. Frankly, Jay Pitty has never listened to an episode of our podcast.
Wow.
And we've done 312 of them.
I told him, you have
be down
400
for more
episodes,
production.
Jay, to listen to one. So if you don't get to 400, we're going a different direction. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
What's his name? Do we have a name on
Well,
this?
it says longtime listener, and he loves his Twitter handles.
Okay.
I will follow up with that. So
Good,
Matthew, back to you.
good.
That's the review section. Thank you, guys.
Well done, reviewers. Personal corner, Jim teased. He's up in Wisconsin in Scottyland, doing what he's doing. Little fam jam time. Me and Kai in the Chicago area. Kai, little Gulf Shores vacation on tap for you. You don't say. Been there once, many moons ago. Great place.
I've never been. It became a big spring break destination. I know right after we graduated college, I would say. Yep, going there with the entire family. So going to be quite the trip. Going to be there a week. Taking already 4 coach calls from there, and I'm sure that'll grow as I finish scheduling here. But should be a good time, Matt. Excited.
Yeah,
likely a
excited
week off
again.
for the pod next week because of that, unless
likely
Jim
week
and
off,
Matt get some crazy content idea and want to
Clickbait.
force one out there. But
Ooh.
we are 2 weeks from Jeopardy, folks.
Ooh,
The 26th of July.
No.
We've got our guy Russ locked in. That much anticipated off-season episode will be coming to you in late July.
I'm not looking forward to Jeopardy as someone who continuously stinks at that game. But no, it's always a great episode with Russ and a very cerebral list of questions. So please tune in. Everyone loves trivia, right? Trivia is kind of the
It's great.
you know, it's like pizza. Everyone likes trivia. All right. I think we have nothing else to add. It's time to
baby.
round it up.
Let's round it up. We're talking news and notes. Guys, key headline. Matt, your boy, Huggy Bear, is making waves
What are we doing,
in the
Bob?
media world. Boy, he is claiming he never
know.
resigned. Matt, did you read the details, like the legal argument? that
No,
they're
I
making?
didn't.
Like,
I did not.
So he's saying he never personally submitted a resignation because the letter came from his wife's email, and a lot of the discussions were. Because reportedly on the West Virginia side, Huggins doesn't have an email and doesn't use it, so
That's
he
awesome.
wasn't going to
I love
submit it. His lawyer was having issues with his work email, so they submitted it from the wife's. Huggins went into the school, cleaned out his office, talked to the AD, told the team he was resigning, told the AD, talked to the AD about resigning, went home, took all his stuff, and now is suddenly saying he never officially resigned and is trying to get, I think it's 1 year of pay that he's still on the hook for, force him to fire him. It sounds like a completely irrational, lunatic argument. I can't believe this is happening.
Money grab. So it's a money grab.
Yeah.
Basically,
it is.
The multimillionaire needs more money, Matthew. That's what it comes down to.
Hey, when you, hey, don't we all, I guess. Still feels very, for a guy who has so much legacy at stake, not that Bob Huggins gives two shits about legacy, but if he did, not a good way to uphold it, a great way to tarnish it. I was reminded, as I'm thinking about Huggy from a glass half empty point of view, he was the one who brought the flopping point of emphasis to the game, which we all hate and loathe. So another reason, if you're not a Bob Huggins fan, he was very much at the forefront of, I think he was on the rules committee that kind of put that into action. He hates flopping, right? He's like the ultimate tough guy, physical guy. So like, all right, that's 2 strikes for Huggy, right? This is strike 1. That was strike 2, strike 3.
You just don't like the calls of flopping, right? Flopping
yeah,
in
it
general
just,
sucks, but you don't like the
backs our
calls.
whole,
Yeah.
I like the calls, right?
Yeah. It's too subjective.
There was also a time too where his teams fouled so much that you couldn't call it. Like that was literally their defensive
Foul
strategy. The West Virginia
exhaustion.
stuff was like, I'm just going to hammer them, and the refs don't want to call 25.5 on one team. And it was terrible to watch. They eased off the gas and became a lot more visually pleasing. But man, there was a couple years where I couldn't watch West.
It was tough. Too many stoppages of the game was horrible. Yep, I agree.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, Huggy, but man, just let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
You made some real mistakes this offseason. I think you just got to sail off quietly into the night. Not a lot of recruiting news worth mentioning here. Power forward in the 2024 class, 4 stars headed to Clemson by the name of Dallas Thomas. Will he be playing for Brad Brownell? That's always a question with the Tigers. Seems like an annual thing with Brownell in the hot seat, but they made the tournament last year, and they will appear in at least one of my lists, fellas, in this episode.
Me too.
So we are talking Clemson Tigers later in some form or another. They will be discussed. Transfer news, not a lot happening. Javon Quinterly still out there. The big fish hasn't landed at Memphis yet. That was what we had speculated, but it has not happened. Don't know where he's headed still.
Just want to jump in. Clemson did not make the tournament last year. They should have.
Right.
Almost did.
Thank you.
They had a great start though.
Yeah, you lose to South Carolina and Louisville, and
Yes,
that's what happens. You don't actually make the tournament. The Southland Defensive Player of the Year, Terrion Murdoch's one of these late entrants, really tough for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They also lost their coach this offseason. Steve Lutz now at Western Kentucky. Murdoch's also was out for the NCAA tournament. He got hurt in the conference tournament. It was a tough injury for the Islanders. And this is just kind of a tough blow to take late in the offseason portal era. It's one of those grad transfers like Quinterly that it's brutal. It's brutal. The team, it's like hard to replace at this stage of the offseason.
Brutal for the team. He's going to have a lot of interest too. If anybody has an open spot out there, I assume he's going to be fielding a lot of phone calls. Have you talked to Lutz, by the way, Jim?
I haven't yet.
WKU yet? Yeah.
They pushed out that call until August because their roster is far from final. So they're trying to go holding pattern there. And I respect it.
Hey, maybe he goes there.
Schools. It could potentially be. I think they would always take a little more ball handling. We'll see. We'll see where he ends up there. I mean, like Jalen Rucker from Army is still out there. He was like a first team all conference guy in the Patriot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't been picked up anywhere, but maybe he's just going to move on from college hoops. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries, suspensions, surprising decisions. Well, Jerome Hunter, it came out that he is out with a quote medical issue that has sidelined him, and that is all they're saying. So you hope this isn't anything super serious. I'd rather it be like a stress fracture in his foot than some sort of actual like medical emergency. So wishing the best for Hunter without knowing any of the details. Yeah, Kai, you mentioned here great front court with him healthy. I was going to mention them in my top front courts later, but you take him out, and I think it becomes tougher to make the case.
Yeah, definitely was in consideration with him and Fremantle. There was speculation it was cardiac related. The health.
it
He had some
sounded
stuff
bad.
in Indiana, I know as well, but
Yep.
nothing confirmed. That's heavy speculation, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And hey, Kai, don't forget about my boy Abu Usman as part of that front
Usman.
court, coming from North
sure.
Texas, one of their top 2
True.
players last year. And he'll probably step in and be the Twin Towers with Fremantle now.
Mm-hmm.
Other news and notes. Yes, the Peach Jam happened, and everybody down there was anxious to prove to you that they were down there. A lot of Big J journos making the case. LeBron James was there, Kai. I don't know if you heard about that. Have you
way.
heard
Was he
about that
coaching
story?
his son, and then he was watching his son in the stands? LeBron
Man.
James. Wow.
Could not believe it.
Amazing.
Kai, they're covering LeBron James like that, coaching his son's team. Can you wait for the Bronny James coverage at USC? It's going to
No, I can't, Jim. I cannot. By the way, I would probably be tweeting and Instagramming a lot if LeBron James was right next to me. Of course I would. But
yeah. And if I
I
was
just
a
thought
Peach
it was
Jam,
so funny
I would-
how much
Yeah.
we saw on Twitter about that.
Yeah, we're
stuff.
not there, so we'll make fun of them. If we were there,
Right.
we'd do the exact same thing. That's
We
exactly
could
how
go
it
to
goes.
these things,
Hypocritical.
guys. We could go to these things. We just
Yeah, but
we're kind of
Kai,
lazy.
It costs money, and
Costs money.
3-man weave doesn't pay that well,
That's right.
unfortunately.
No, not well enough. Also, there's one year to not go. It's probably this year. None of these guys
Yes.
are going to, relative to the years
senior
past,
classes
senior
are
classes.
exciting.
It's
Class of
unexciting.
2025 is the big one. Matt, there was
Sweet,
the Cooper
yes.
Flag,
Cooper
Cameron
Flag.
Boozer showdown in the the championship of the U16. A lot of speculation. Both guys will end up at Duke. I hate you.
Yeah.
That would suck. Let's get rid of the one and done rule now, and they can just go straight to the pros.
Yep. Shire's already done the kind of paved the way for Boozer as an assistant hiring. Then you get the kids coming in behind,
Yeah, 'cause
and
Caden
and-
rocks too. Caden's like a top 25 recruit,
Yeah,
even though
get
he's
them both.
5 inches shorter than his twin brother.
And Cooper Flag obviously just reeks of Duke, just given the the lineage there. So
He should go to Maine.
I agree. How
Okay,
cool would
yeah.
that be? As a Duke
I
fan,
made
I'm
that
gonna go
case.
to
and
Maine.
it,
Be so
yeah,
awesome.
it got like
Be great.
100 and some likes when I made that case. Would love it. Go to Maine,
it.
make it happen. He's also got a twin brother that is shorter than him. So kind of
Wow.
funny that the 2 top high school players have twin brothers that are not as tall. That is it for Roots Roundup, I believe. Now,
Uh-oh.
Matthew, I'm going to kick it back to you and maybe over to Kai for best
Yeah.
backcourts.
All right, I'll start us off, guys. Yeah, we're doing a little clickbait activity here at the Weave. We all made separate lists of best backcourts, front courts, and shooting teams. At the end of the episode, we'll do our Mount Coachmore, Rushmore style game with the coaches this year. But we start with backcourts. And guys, I wrote down like 30-ish teams. And I guess
did
I
too.
whittled
I
it
did
down to my
quantity.
top 10 here. Do you want me to go through my top 10, Jim? Is that how you want to do things? And then we'll
Yeah, I feel like
interject
we can
here.
go through top 10 and we'll see if you say somebody that neither me nor Matt even had mentioned, we can discuss the strength or weaknesses. We can debate positions. Like, hey, that guy's
No.
not in the back. No, Matt, we're doing that. We are
Ah.
absolutely leaning into that. Matt, it's a clickbait episode.
I know.
People
I
love
know.
positional debates. They go
Yes.
nuts for them. But yeah, Kai, I like that. And then we can go through honorable mention, any that Matt and I
Love
rank
it.
top 10. Perfect.
Actually, I just talked to real quick here on my
Yes.
Rob Senderoff call, Kent State, great season
Yes.
last year, nice shot flashes. He corrected me on a positional title. I called who was it? I think it was Von Cameron Davis, a guard, kind of a power guard. He's like, I'd say he's more of a wing, actually. Man. It's like, wow, the positional police are out in full force in mid-July. I love it. No, Sendy's the best. He's one of my favorite coaches I talked to.
A
on
wing
an
instead
annual
of a
basis.
power guard. Yep. Yeah. Thanks, coaches, for being pedantic.
By the book.
All right, here we go. Top backcourt. I named it Duke. What was my top backcourt, guys? Jeremy Roach, Tyrese Proctor. I think Proctor's going to be an All-American. This was a big catalyst for me. Roach experience point guard. McCain, the 5-star, and of course, a bunch of other 5-stars in the backcourt as well. So Duke's number one for me. Creighton is my number 2 backcourt, actually. Mr. Ashworth, who I know you guys are both fans of. Baylor Shireman is back, and Trey Alexander. All 3 of those guys could be top 30 players this year in college basketball.
Wait, can we
Yep.
can we discuss as we go rather than listing all 10?
Yeah, I like that. Okay, go.
Because Duke, I mean, I had them in the mix, but Roach, I don't know, the development hasn't been there, and we don't know if the freshmen are going to provide solid enough depth. I had a problem with both their front court and their backcourt packs. I think they have an All-American in both spots, but the complementary guys, do they lift them all the way ahead of a couple other backcourts we haven't mentioned yet? Matt, what do you think of Duke number 1?
Yeah, it was tough. I'm actually closer to Kai. I had them third, but I'm The challenge with this is how much weight do you put on depth versus star power. But overall, call the backcourt, what it is. I'm much higher on Roach than you probably are. And I think McCain will be a great kind of third banana next to Proctor, who with Kai will be a surefire star. I think it's got Jalen Blake's back. There's depth pieces there.
I'm going to make a really strong case for another one as being definitely better than Duke, and I hope Kai gets them soon.
Senior
you
point
said
guard
Creighton.
Roach. I am pretty high on Roach.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kai.
Year.
Kai is the right take there.
Creighton is my number 2 team. Yes, I think those 3 guys are pretty defensible, I would say, for number 2.
Yeah, Creighton. I have 5th. I mean, I forget Shireman. I'm like, Ashworth and Alexander pretty solid. I'm like, oh yeah, Baylor Shireman, and then Farabello should be a better 4th guard than he was last year. So I like Creighton up there.
Michigan State guys was number 3, and these top 3, I think for me, you could have put in most any order. As much as I don't love AJ Hoggard, I think he's a bit overrated from what he's being talked about in the country, and Tyson Walker for that matter too. There's still 2 senior point guards, senior plus point guards that are very, very solid basketball players, and along with Jaden Akins, who still has a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, Akins.
I think they're going to be pretty awesome this year.
I wanted to be lower Michigan State, Jim. I feel like you're probably lower on Sparty, but I think Akins kind of put me over the top. You had the one.
Court.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think Fears rocks too. So
and Fears could be sweet. Yes,
good.
There's 4 legitimate, awesome guards there. Sorry, Kai, continue. I had Creighton third, by the way. So
you have Creighton third.
Yes.
So you have same top 3 as me, Matthew?
No, I have a surprise number 2, which I think I'll get to in a second.
Yes, hopefully. I gave Texas the nod for number 4 for me. This is not super scientific, guys. It's subjective. Max
this is why we're supposed to be arguing about it, Kai.
A. Smith, Tyrese Hunter is back, and I counted Dylan Mitchell as a wing guard in this sense. So
wrong. He's front court. Idiot.
Yeah.
I counted Thiel Horton though, and I think Horton puts them top 10 for sure. So I'm with you.
Horton, that too. Yes. Number 5, Villanova for me. Justin Moore, TJ Bamba, Hakeem Hart, and Tyler Burton. You could say they start 4 guards. Jim.
Yeah. Burton's a forward.
It sounds like you didn't consider bench at all, which is something that I did. So
I consider bench sometimes, but it's the main 2 or 3 guys for me. Yeah.
Like Mark Armstrong being in there. I have Longino and a backup white guard who shall not be named that we despise. But yeah, the depth, the options, their backcourt's great. But Kai, you haven't gotten to the one in the Big East that I ranked number 2.
Well, there's probably my number 6 team, Jim. Marquette.
Yeah, I had them too.
Why is that backcourt not better than Duke? We know they have an All-American. We know they have a 15-point scorer. It's not a theoretical All-American. It's a surefire All-American.
Yeah.
Jones is an incredible scorer. You got great depth options with Mitchell, with Ross, with Sean Jones. I'm making the case Marquette's at least better than Duke. And then I had to give Michigan State the nod above Marquette because that backcourt outplayed them head-to-head.
Well, Jim, we voted Proctor higher than Kolek in our top 100 ratings, I think. At least we did not.
I was going to say, I think Proctor's going to be better than Kolek. I put
Proctor over Kolek.
Is that too far of a leap? Yeah,
I put Roach over Jones, and I put the gaggle of 5 stars over the rest of Marquette's group.
I would take Cam Jones over Jeremy Roach 100 times out of 100. I think Cam Jones rocks. One of the best finishers at the rim in the country. Kolek's I think there's something to be said for the certainty of Kolek's had an All-American season. Proctor's shown All-American flashes.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true. Very true. Hey, there's 6 for me, guy. They're top 6
we have some strong Marquette listeners to the pod. The case was made, Marquette fans. We did not sweep them under the rug. I think they're a top 3 backcourt in the country.
Marquette's right there. Villanova, them Marquette. Hey, this isn't a coaching thing. I think Marquette's better than Villanova next year, but Villanova just has. If you include Burton in that 4-guard backcourt mix, it's unassailable right there.
Villanova has some dudes. I can't underscore enough how much pressure Mr. Neptune has to win. That roster is so good. So good.
If you flip Burton to front court and you add him with Dixon, suddenly you have a team that can be mentioned in the top front courts later too. So it just depends where you put Burton.
Absolutely. 7, and you could make a case this team should be higher. Houston for me. Jamal Shed, LJ Cryer, and Arsenault is flashing lights breakout candidate this year. And I'm sure he's on the list. Riley Davis is doing the breakout list for the Almanac this year. I believe Arsenault is on that list. And Kelvin Sampson, the development, Matthew. It's
I want to see Cryer in this amongst this group. There's a theme I think I've talked about before where there's offensive minded guards going to defensive minded teams, and they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. But I also think they could just be a breath of fresh air for backcourts, perimeter groups that have not been as offensively fluid or consistent or efficient in years past. I think Cryer just lifts that to a new level, and Shed's just Shed, right? Dominant on the ball, steady.
Houston often, the half court offense isn't beautiful because they know they're going to dominate the offensive glass, but Cryer's such a great off the dribble shot maker that he fits well into that. And I would add Damian Dunn, I think is going to be very good for them. He actually made threes, physical, big guard. I like Emmanuel Sharp. I liked Ramon Walker a little bit as a freshman before he redshirted last year. Like there's a lot of depth there too. Houston, I had right up in my top 10 as well.
Going back to the Big East for number 8, UConn for me, Tristan Newton certainly proved me wrong in terms of being able to translate to the Big East after coming over from East Carolina. Castle has gotten a lot of love as a freshman, and Cam Spencer really ties the room together as the rug, the 3-point shooter. So I think UConn is in the top 10 for me as well.
I'd love to call him the rug as a nickname all season. He's coming from Rutgers. He's the Rutgers. I don't know. Maybe there's something there, but he ties the team together. They needed like that movement shooter that Jordan Hawkins gave him, and he's just like the perfect fit. Kai, I have a top 3 backcourt that hasn't been mentioned yet.
Wow.
Hopefully you'll get to them in your top 10.
I don't know if I will, Jim. I went with Kansas at number 9. Dwan Harris coming back, a leader. He is the Kihei Clark leader quality. Stats don't jump off the page, but he's a winner.
He's just better than Kihei Clark. Can we say that?
Yeah.
That's too far. Like I just feel very confident saying
you
Dwan
guys
Harris
hate Kihei Clark. The fact of the matter is the guy won like 100 games in college. You gotta give him
Dwan Harris is better than Kihei Clark.
He's
Pounds
better.
Gabble.
He might be.
Offensively, just even though he's limited-ish, he's still like he made threes last year.
He doesn't try to do.
He picks his spots. Harris is great. I have a love affair with Harris. I do.
McCullough, and then Marco Jackson. I guess we've heard mixed reviews about him in the offseason.
Yeah, no, I was bummed to hear behind the scenes that he's not going to be like, I think they'll see him more as a longer term development, not like a right away guy. I loved his
like MJ
film.
Rice last year, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I guess
do we count Timberlake in that? Arterio Morris? Like that guy.
I like Timberlake too. Yep.
Both those guys. Yep. I just trust Kansas to be really good in the backcourt. And then 10th for me, Gonzaga is where I'm going with. I'm going Nembhard, Nolan Hickman, Steel Venters, including as a guard as well.
That is my top out of my face. Get Nolan Hickman out of my face. Yep, Matthew, that was my other top 3 one.
FAU is in the top 15 for me. Yes. Okay. That is a total team over individual player thing for me. Obviously, they start 4 guards. Yeah. No. I mean, that's why they're included. I don't think any one of those players is better than any of the top player on the 10 teams I just named, but
I think they've got great. 2 players better than Kansas' best guard.
I agree with that.
I'll disagree. If they weren't on that,
are we calling Nelly Davis a guard here, Jimbo?
Yeah, 4 guards. I'm including. Yeah. That's like why you can't just be like the 1 and the 2 for each team. It's like they're clearly starting 4 guards. So I'm counting all those guys. I love Nelly Davis.
He's not a top 20 player.
Oof, man.
He's not.
Man, I think in general, I think people are maybe overrating Davis and underrating Martin, but I think they're both just awesome players in general.
It's an awesome team. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need an excuse to talk about FAU. I almost put them in top front court too, which is probably a reach for sure.
That's a reach.
But I think
I'm not putting them in top front court. I'm giving them also some bonus love on FAU because they've got 6 guys for 4 spots that can really play. Like Gaffney, Weatherspoon are awesome off the bench. I mean,
Boyd's great.
I didn't even fully realize this until I talked to Dusty May, but Davis and Martin both came off the bench at the same time for like 15 games last year.
Yeah.
It was just like, our best 2 players came off the bench because it worked. So we were that good. Like, all right. Yeah.
There's a huge argument for them in the top 10 for sure. Jim, who else do you have in the top 10 that I missed?
I had Texas A&M up there, Wade Taylor, Boots Radford, Andre Gordon off the bench. Depends maybe how you feel about the transfers, Lawrence and Carter. I think they're at least good enough to boost them. USC, very much like is Isaiah Collier as good as the recruiting ranking says, but Boogie Ellis is awesome. And Bronny James, DJ Rodman. I think there's enough there. I'll name one more and then I'll pass to Matthew and we'll see what other ones he came up with. I put a question mark by this one. It might be too strong. Miami, I love Nigel Pack. Wooga was really good last year. Bensley Joseph flashed some at times. Larinaga is a good coach. Matthew, who did you want to mention here? I've got a couple others.
I wanted to put Miami. Me and Kai were courtside when we saw Wooga play his worst game ever, probably. And like, there is no more improved player in college basketball last season. I mean, he was just night and day different. Like he was a complete nothing on offense. And last year, he's like making shots off the dribble and, fitting in like a glove next to those dueling dragons of sorts. So you might be onto something there. In the same Sunshine State, I threw Florida as number 10. I mean, the Riley Kugel breakout stuff is all the way palpable. And with Walter Clayton and who's the other? I'm forgetting who's their third guy.
Zion Poland.
And Zion Poland.
And you could call Will Richard backcourt too. If you want
and Will Richard. He's not. Will Richard is great. And Richmond, I guess, is kind of a death piece, but that's a good backcourt. And maybe that's just me being stubbornly in on Florida stuff. But Chip, that was the one I mentioned. I wanted to put San Diego State in the mix. Their defensively they're incredible. Right. With Trammell and Butler, who, don't have like maybe as much offensive sex appeal as some of the other squads, but I think all the way are worthy of consideration there.
Yeah. I like Dixon Waters too.
Dixon Waters is great. Yes. He was underrated loss, I think, for USC, by the way. Yeah. Agree with that wholeheartedly.
Matt, I was surprised that just because you love this guy so much, you didn't force St. Mary's in here with your boy Mahaney. That's exactly who you're going, Kai. All right, perfect.
I'm shocked. Yeah.
And I like if you put Dukas backcourt, which I think he is,
and Gus.
Like we saw how important he is. Yeah, Marchulionis, they have a top 100 recruit, Jordan Ross, that Bennett always seems to develop those guys. Look what he did with Mahaney last year. I think we've hit everybody except New Mexico, Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn, Jamal Baker, Donovan Dent, former top 100 recruit, True Washington, right around there. So they've got star power and talent. Team just kind of fell off late last year, but man, that backcourt could be really, really good if Jamal Baker stays healthy.
I'll be honest, I did not write them down. That was the one team I didn't write down that we discussed. But you're right. They have an awesome backcourt. There's like
Kai, throw some out there on your list. You're a longer list than I had.
Well, I had to put Kentucky on there because they have two top 5 players backcourt.
Sure.
And Reeves is back. I did mention UNC, RJ Davis and Cormac Ryan with Kadu. They're the 5-star there. Let's see. Syracuse was in the mix because I just am a huge men's fan, and I think Starling is going to be good.
It's a fair nod.
Let's see. Illinois, Arkansas, Virginia, Vatech. All those teams were in consideration, guys.
I don't have any strong against any of those. I want to see it from Kentucky. They're playing Germany right now, live in their foreign tour. And did you see some of Calipari's quotes before they left? It's like, woe is me. We're going to try to win a game. We might go 0-4. Like, all right, relax, John. Stop lowering the bar.
Their 2 big guys are hurt, Bradshaw and the guy who starts with an O.
Onyenso. Yep.
They're both hurt. So who knows if that'll affect them or not. But yeah.
Can I throw one out there that Kai will certainly nod his head to, and Jim will laugh at my face? Ready? 1, 2, 3. St. Joseph's.
Hey, I wouldn't call them a top. I wouldn't call them top 50, but they are. Those players are really talented.
They are so talented. They
top
are
3 in the A10, maybe.
Yeah.
I cannot believe I'm going to be high on St. Joe's this year. I guess everyone will be because they have everyone coming back and whatever. But I'm going to be, I think, actually high on St. Joe's. Terrifying.
I have not talked to Billy yet, so I'll let you know.
Let me know hi. Let me know, or tell him I say hi. I should say.
So Billy's a salesman. He'll pitch you that they're top 4 in the league.
That's true. He'll have you convinced by the end of that phone call, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, front courts, guys. Move to the front court.
Front courts. I'm leading this one because I love big men. Everyone knows that Matt is the big man defender, the czar of front line.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Generally, I gave depth less of a bonus here because guards, I want a whole ton of guards. I want an army of guards you can throw out there. Bigs, if you had 2 really good ones and a fine backup, I was like, boom, you're up there. So
I skewed less depth with guards, but probably not as much as you did. Purdue is a tough one to rank for me. You got to put Purdue on there. How high do you put them?
One.
Yeah, you put them 1. You put what?
Okay, I had 1. I almost put UConn 1. Oh, UConn has a real case.
I did consider UConn. But man, Purdue's got 4 of them and the best player. So what do you do?
Let's debate. Okay, let's go right there. Is it UConn, Purdue 1-2? I think we agree there.
That's exactly how I had it. Purdue 1-2.
It sounds like you were.
Purdue was number 1 with a bullet.
Okay.
Did you have UConn?
I think
too,
Alex
Kai?
UConn.
Wow.
Who's 2 for you?
Top 4 for me.
Okay.
I love Caravan Klingen. Well, let's go ahead with your side.
Okay. Well, I want to debate UConn versus Purdue. I thought it'd be a fun debate because I think Caravan's better than Gillis if we want to go to the second big in the.
I think
order.
Caravan kicked butt as the 5th best player on his team. Was unbelievable at that job. But I don't know that he's like some far and away star compared to Gillis or First when you're going the Twin Towers look. And then like I know the depth doesn't fully matter here, but the 10 minutes that Edie's not playing, you get Kaufman-Renn, who's a monster. And I have no idea who's backing up Klingon. Like that was what was cool about UConn last year is you go Sonogo, Klingon, there's no break, no rest, different types of players that give you different looks. Like, is it Samson Johnson? Is it the 2 6'7" freshmen? Like, I just don't know what the depth is there for UConn. And that was such a strength for them.
Yeah. I need Dowser to hype up some no-name guy that's deep in the bench that I'm sure I'll buy into. Yeah, because you're right. The depth is actually terrifyingly thin behind. Like UConn's going to be awesome this year, but they are young, very, very young.
So they're 4 for me, Matt.
Okay,
UConn.
Kai, who is your second? I want to talk about your number 2 team. I want to see where that falls in my ranking. Go.
Kansas was my number 2. Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams.
I had him 3rd. So
okay, yeah, I had him 4th.
Kai,
okay, so we're all agreeing to some degree.
How dare you not mention Parker Brown, former Mizzou Tiger?
Parker Brown, who probably won't play, but I think Adams is so underrated, and we know Dickinson.
Yes, I agree. Adams will
be an all-American.
Great. Dickinson revival year.
Do we think there's any weird fit there with Dickinson being a great on the block guy and Adams not really spreading it? I don't know.
No, because I think they could go opposite, and Dickinson can play on the perimeter.
Yeah, that just doesn't really maximize Dickinson, but I know Bill Self will figure it out. I like have 100% faith in that, but
the high lows,
it's just a little bit odd. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think I read that they're trying to do like the Dickinson, kind of handoff stuff or like trigger stuff from the perimeter to get him, mixing, moving around. I think Self will find a very good harmonious situation for both Adams and Dickinson. I just have so much. Yeah, that's just a surefire bet there. I had Arizona number 2. Maybe I went too rich. Just gave me
or Purdue.
Sorry, 3.
Arizona over UConn. Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, I had 3. Purdue, UConn, Arizona. Pardon me.
I actually had Arizona 5th. So my eyebrow raise was probably not fair to you. I think a lot depends on the backups and the Euro bigs that got a lot of hype coming in last year that didn't do much, but apparently looked good over in the Euro stuff this off season. Got a little more development there. And we know Keyshawn Johnson can play at that level. So Ballo, Johnson, nice 1-2 there.
Yeah, I mean, Johnson was awesome last season I think he's a perfect, again, as a guy who tends to put bigs in a box and limit their potential, Johnson is a know-your-role all-star secondary big next to Ballo. So pretty in on that pairing. Man, my rankings get really fuzzy here. I actually threw Auburn in my top 5. I just think what they can. Okay, I think how they protect the rim with Broom and how they can dominate the glass and how much that team leans on their production to be good in the wake of some really, really, really up and down guard play. Like maybe I'm putting this more as like a most valuable front court as opposed to best front courts, but I really love that Auburn front court. And I think just covers up a lot of some flaws that they have.
I have them 8th, Matt. I think they totally warrant, and like the way they control the rim, like you said, it's just so dominant on both ends, and Pearl's really got that figured out. It's a nice fit. And I like Cardwell as the depth there as the 3rd big behind him and Broom and Jalen Williams.
Can't believe your boys are slipping, man.
My boys, my Hoosiers. Is that where you're going with this?
Your
where
Duke
are you going?
Boys. I got Duke.
My Duke boys.
Yeah.
Okay. I have Duke.
You just hate Flip. True. I forgot you hate.
No,
Flip.
I think Flip's.
Yeah, Matt thinks Flip is bad. Yeah.
So you got Flip, another 5-star
5,
Mitchell,
6.
and then a bunch of 5-stars behind him.
Yeah, what do I have Duke 6? I don't have a good debate for that.
I have him 4th. I put question mark. I mean, I know Duke badly wanted another big, where they were going after Uday.
That was my issue. Like, I need a 5, a true 5, a rim protecting 5. That's what this group's missing, Kai. Thank you, Jim. That's my argument.
Do you get anything from Christian Reeves this year, Matthias? I know there was some excitement about his play, like in preseason last year, exhibition stuff, but I don't know if he's like the option that you need as the shot blocker dunker that like Lively was, or somebody of that.
Mark Williams, right? Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't see that. And I just kind of bummed that Duke missed out on a lot of the late big transfer entries. Hey, a lot of Ryan Young this year, though, for those of you Mike and Drill aficionados, old man big throwbacks. Guy can score on the block.
Yeah, he's part
of the decide that's a burn or not.
Yeah. No, it's a partial burn, but it's a net endorsement. I will say that because he was actually effective last season, despite being highly limited against certain matchups. No question.
I like calling him just Mike and Drill
Michael,
That's a good
Michael,
nickname
yes.
for him. I love that.
Who's your 4 then, Matt?
I have a surprise. How about Maryland?
Got him
On
ninth.
the cusp. On the
Good.
cusp.
Got him
For me,
ninth.
yeah.
I think people
I just
like
who's their best? Who's their depth piece? Like Geronimo. The top 2 rock. There's no question.
that's
about
right. It's a top 2, right? I think Dante Scott and Julian Reese are. It's sort of the last remnants of that really interchangeable core that made the breakthrough a couple years ago. Kind of carry it forth as they transition to Willard. And Scott and Reese are just really good. So versatile. Do it all on both ends. Underrated for sure.
Agreed.
Colorado is my next choice. And this is assuming a healthy Eddie Lampkin, because when he is healthy, he is an absolute baron in the post. And everyone knows I am Tristan De Silva's biggest fan, who is in store for yet another leap in his, was it third or fourth year?
Senior thing.
Yeah, Buffs are going to be good up front. And then Cody Williams is the 5-star freshman wing, if we're going to throw wings in the front court group. He didn't really have a great U19 showing, but I read some good stuff about him, right? Kind of about the right stuff, intangibles guy, humble. I bought in. So Boyle Ball is back, baby.
Tough having Colorado above Duke on the front court list.
No, I had Duke above Colorado. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I had Duke above Colorado.
Phew. Russ is having a heart attack in the group there.
Where am I at on my list here? This is where I just get all flat for me. Am I missing an obvious one? It got really flat for me after those names.
This is fun.
There's
This
like
is fun.
2 that I think I felt fairly strong about being in the top 10 that you haven't gotten to.
Okay. I did not put Indiana, by the way. I feel like my Hoosiers going to be upset with that. I think they have a lot of depth.
I left them out too.
I
They are a theoretical front court. There is nothing proven about that group.
Right. Oregon. Thoughts?
They were not in consideration.
Got to be healthy. Oh, wow. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I think if healthy, that's a dominant front line. Like they were dominant at their best last season. Obviously, that part of that was when he was good, but he wasn't good that often. I think Dante was an absolute force. We saw some upside from Biddle. The length. I
Biddle
think,
was better than Ware last year. Biddle was
no question.
Clear.
And
So
I've
you're
been high on
saying
him for
Kwame
multiple
Evans
years.
rocks. That's for your
Evans is supposed to be good, I think.
Huh.
It's basically a big
And-
bet on Dante, who was, I think, tremendous when healthy.
Addition by subtraction with no Guerrier.
With no Gary, I know Jim hates Gary. Not a factor in my decision, but I will take the bonus point in my favor.
Hey, good front court for sure. Just not a chance I would take them over a couple teams still on the list.
Same.
And I threw my last one here, which is probably a reach, and this is also waiver dependent. I think Cincinnati's front court's going to be awesome this season.
I think if you're going waiver dependent, you got to go Ole Miss with Sharp.
Yeah, Ole Miss was on my honorable mention.
It's going to be a ridiculous defensive front court.
I just love the potential of what Wes Miller can throw out there with that front court when you have the Loch Ness Monster, who is like, a real player. Aziz Benago, how do you say his name?
Bendago. Yeah, if he's eligible, that's massive.
He's just outstanding. Jameel Reynolds from Temple, like one of the multiple Temple players I'm in love with. Odie
Oguama's still there, right?
Oguama's really good. Like that's a really, really, really good system front court. Maybe I reached there. Kai, who did I miss?
I would say that's for reach. Well,
it's probably reach.
Kai, hit the 2 that we're missing in mine.
I wanted to get some courtesy fringe suggestions, and you can nibble around the 8 through 10 spots.
So I guess there's 3 in my top 10 that were not talked about. So I included Gonzaga. Maybe I'm just a Gonzaga fiend.
I did not.
I think they
Graham
should be
EK,
there.
Anton Watson, Ben Gregg. We forget about
Ben Gregg. Love him. I think they really like Braden Huff, who redshirted last year.
Yes.
I think they should be there for sure. Matt, you used to be Graham EK's biggest.
No, out on EK.
All on
love Anton Watson. Love Anton Watson. But EK, I was in on him before. I'm selling my stock before it plummets. I just have the read on the market for everyone else does. I bought low. I'm going to sell high on EK.
EK or Locken?
Yeah. EK or Locken, Matt? Who are you taking?
I guess EK. I don't know. Is that dumb to say Locken? I mean, Locken's.
I think it's crazy to lose stock on a player when he's going to play for Mark Few's system.
I know. I agree. It's dumb for me. I just put Arizona 2 or 3, and then to not choose the
Philip
basically
Petrushev was an All-American as the 5-man in that system, and EK I think is probably better.
You're probably right.
Did you catch my Tom impression, Greg?
That's pretty good, Kai.
Thank you.
That's actually pretty good.
It's really subtle. Yeah.
Okay. I got Michigan in my top 10, actually, guys. Combo,
looked at him.
Honorable mention. Yep.
Terrace Reed, I think, makes a huge jump. Trey Jackson.
Reed was awesome down the
Forgot about
stretch
Trey
last year.
Jackson.
Reed was really good. Trey Jackson, great role player, great bench guy. Agree. Great call. Good inclusion.
If you want to include Terrence Williams, you can.
Yeah, or Will Shetter. Yeah, I was messaging Dylan Burkhart, Hoops guy, and he mentioned Trey Jackson. I was like, oh, I forgot he's on your team. That's helpful. He's a nice piece.
Strong front court. And then the last one that wasn't mentioned for me was UNC, North Carolina, Baycott, All-American. I think Harrison Ingram is overrated, but he's still a ACC starter caliber player. And then Withers and Okonkwo off the bench. It's pretty deep front court there for UNC.
Yeah, I think Okonkwo was a big grab for them. I've heard our guy Riley Davis might not be a huge fan of Jalen Washington. The development might not be there, but yeah, I think getting Okonkwo gives them another body. When I had top 10, Mississippi State, Tolu Smith. Yeah. DJ Jeffries, Cam Matthews, Jimmy Bell, a lot of bodies, a lot of physicality. Team that really leans on the front court. I mean, they play through Smith so much on that end. And then I had Providence 10th. Bryce Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins is
right there
Josh
too.
Oduro.
Yeah.
And Will McNair is like the perfect third big to just throw in and hack people for 15 minutes a game. They can kind of play any two of those three because Oduro and Hopkins are versatile. So, yeah, I think we've hit most of them. I have a couple apologies. Apologies to Ryan Kalkbrenner because there's not enough around him to rank Creighton. Apologies to Duron Holmes because there's not enough around him to rank Dayton. And apologies to PJ Hall. I don't love the rest of the Clemson front court to get them in there.
Fair enough.
Did A&M get consideration for you, Jim? Kind of a more of a depth front court, Marble and Coleman? No.
Coleman's great. They got another. They just picked up another big in the portal.
Oh, Levesque from South Carolina or UMass. So
yeah, maybe
whatever.
Maybe not the one I'm super excited about. Never mind. But Coleman's really good.
Shooting teams.
Well, no. Hey, I put Memphis as a consideration. No,
if Williams gets his
if Williams is approved, and you get Jordan Brown from Louisiana, who we know can play at this level. David Jones, I put as a forward, and then Tafali Leonard, I put as a wing forward, which is maybe a little more guardy, but that's a really good group. Could dominate the rim again. Not probably at the level that they did with Cisse, but perhaps close.
Kind of considered Texas, Miami, K-State.
BYU? Am I crazy? BYU?
Yeah,
Khalifa? Bruce Traore?
Yeah. I gave Stanford kind of a nod as a fringe. They suck, but
hi, real quick.
Really
you had UNC
we're going to mention Stanford
court.
in 2 straight lists now because of that.
I know.
Wow. Stanford.
Hi, you had UNC front court and back court. Is that correct?
I did not have UNC. No, UNC backcourt was not in my top 10. No.
Honorable mention, though.
They're honorable mention. Yes.
They've got stars in both. It's just the second, third guys in both are kind of like, they're really quite good enough. But
yeah.
All right.
Are they all my Mount Coach Moore? They are not. UNC did not make my Mount Coach Moore. Sorry, Hero Davis.
No. That's how we will finish up. All right, top shooting teams. I will lead this again, debating on how much depth matters versus like your best 2 or 3 shooters. I like a team that shooting is actually a huge part of what makes them good. It's not just having 1 or 2 guys. So depth of shooting mattered a lot for me here. Matt, curious if it's crazy. We've had actually a request in the chat to talk about them, but is saying FAU is one of the best shooting teams or maybe the best shooting teams? Like crazy?
No, okay. Absolutely not. They have depth of shooting and they're all like real shooters. No, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Can shoot off motion like Martin, like off screens. He's not Jordan Hawkins, but so okay, not too controversial to have him there.
Absolutely not. Boyd can stroke it. No, that's a real shooting team. Weatherspoon.
Yep. And then 2 and 3, I feel very good about, both excellent shooting teams, Clemson and Creighton.
Yeah, my top 2.
Nice.
Yep,
all right, good. Wow. I did not expect we'd have agreement in this one. But yeah, Clemson, Hunter, Hemingway, Joe Girard is a massive ad there. PJ Hall can shoot in the front court. Oh yeah. Shefflin can shoot a little bit for the front court. Yeah. It's not the Clemson team you think of. And you lose Hunter Tyson and you still rank this high in shooting. Is impressive with what Brownell's done there, kind of flipping the identity. And then Creighton, you trade out Nembhard for Ashworth and suddenly you're like an elite shooting team. Alexander was really efficient last year. Volume started to get up there. We know what Shireman can do. I think you get a little more from Mason Miller this year, Matt. Maybe he's not a total beanpole. Had some strength this offseason. Lawson and Farabello could help. But all right, Kai, am I biased that I put Mizzou 4th?
I put him 5th.
Yes. All right.
I was wondering about being biased, but there's like 6 legitimate shooters on the team. Like Honor, Bates, Tanja. I gotta learn how to pronounce his last name.
Tonya.
It's Tanjay.
Tanja, Carter, Vanover, Grill, and the system is threes. So I think it's a worthy inclusion.
All right. I got to them and was like,
Yeah.
is this going to stink if I put them in there? But it's, you've got volume, you've got efficiency, you've got positional versatility in there with Vanover being a shooter. Matt, I know you love him in that system.
I do.
Did you include Mizzou?
I didn't put Mizzou in there. I considered them. I just couldn't get the fact that you can't replace Demoy Hodge, who hit 100 threes at 40% from like 30 feet out on an average shot.
I think
length,
Kobe Brown was
basically.
40% too.
And Kobe was, it's just massive. But you're right. They just look at the roster they have now. There's depth of shooting. Lots of options.
There's a chance. I mean, Grill won't shoot as many as Hodge, but he's like that kind of volume. Just
he
gun
is
away
from anywhere.
deep.
Very fair.
All right. Next, 5th. This is going to be definitely one you guys didn't have. BYU. Spencer Johnson shot 45% last year. Trevin Nell is back. Missed all of last year. He's another like 40% big time shooter on the wing. Dallin Hall, I think, is just going to get better and better in the backcourt. Jackson Robinson, Noah Waterman, Quest Glover, Dawson Baker from Irvine. Both Glover and him shot 38% at the mid-major level. So they got a lot of different guys. As I went through this guy, I put BYU as an honorable mention front court. I was like, do I need to be higher in BYU? Huh.
I had BYU in consideration for this list. But I did not put the top 10. So you're not crazy in my opinion.
Okay.
Jim.
I thought you were going to be like, man, I didn't even look at him. So all right,
no. I paid attention to him.
Who's getting those guys shots, Jim, is my question to be
the amount of attention that Fus Traore is drawing this year, Matt. Go to
the gravitational pull in the middle. Love it. Sold.
Not sure he's the passer that he needs to be for that particular gig, but Hall needs to be the creator for BYU to really succeed. I know that Rob has already talked to Mark Pope for the Almanac, so curious what kind of intel he got from him there. We'll be scouting that behind the scenes. Number 6, I went with Virginia Tech, which maybe was a little bit of a reach, but Padula, Couture are 2 high volume, high efficiency shooters. Couture had a little bit of a slump last year, but I think Rodney Rice will be good. Robbie Barron, Makai Long gives them a little bit of a bench option coming from Old Dominion. Matt, you nodded. You said you had them.
Yeah, I just think the Mike Young and the guys that are coming back, like that's just so much of what they emphasize in practice. Like they're going to have one guy step up that made threes that didn't as much last year, or just kind of break out. And with Padula and Couture, just proven snipers for sure. I mean, Grant Basile canning 73s last year. I was like, oh, sure. I guess why not? You know what I mean? It's just part of what they do.
Yeah, maybe Lynn Kidd's going to just start knocking down triples this year.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Kai, Virginia Tech, yes, no, decent.
They're my honorable mention considerations. Yes, for sure.
Sweet. Okay.
And
kind of nice. Tangentially related to Virginia Tech. I snuck in a Cal mention here, guys, because I think Jalen Cohn's going to make a ton of threes at Cal. Jalen Tyson, Keontae Kennedy, Mike Meadows. Maybe not the volume you want from Kennedy and Meadows, but I think that team's going to shoot really well 1 through 4. Space the floor around AMAC. That hasn't been a huge strength of Madsen teams. It's like prolific 3-point shooting, but they had some solid ones last year. And I think Cohn's the perfect, like top of the line lead type of shooter. And then they've got enough complementary. So again, maybe a reach, but
honorable mention for me as well, Jim. Cal.
Yes. Wow, really?
Wow. Jim and Kai, same page on this list making exercise. I love it. Matt, are you going to say no, or are you going to allow us to?
I love Cal. I don't know if I could get there with Cal. Like maybe you're right. I don't know.
They have like 4 guys that shot like 40% or close to it last season. So I think that's what drew me into them.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. I went down into the mid-major depths for this one, but
you have to. I think you have to for shooting. You got to go mid. I think I went mid-major faster than you guys did on this one.
Okay. Yeah. And you probably have more of them. I've got some honorable mention mid-major, but I had to put Colgate in here.
Matthew.
I have Colgate 8th. I know they lose Oliver Lynch Daniels, who shot like 52%. I think Lynch Daniels shot 59% in conference from 3-point range. It is absolutely stupid.
I can confirm. Yes. Yep.
I got him 4th, Jim. I agree with you.
Good. Yeah. They still got Moffitt. They still got Smith, Baker, Louis Jacques. They're going to have one dominant big man, but Moffitt is just ridiculous from the 4 spot, and they breed shooters. I know I've talked already to Langle, and he's really high. One of the freshmen is going to come in and shoot right away. So I'm very confident that they will be efficient. They've been ranked in the top 3 in 3-point percentage 3 straight years.
3 straight years. Yeah. I had it. So they went top 20, then top 50, then 3rd, then top 3 straight years. Finished first last year. So yeah, they shoot
pretty good.
Yep. And Richardson didn't even make many last. He shot a lot, but he was pretty inefficient, and they still were top 3. So I think they'll be just fine without him. Now, this is where it gets dicey, guys. I think there's going to be some real wild card choices. I've got Miami, Florida here. Nigel Pack is just kind of like the Cone thing, where you've got one guard that just is high volume, high efficiency. Poplar, Joseph, Matthew Cleveland shot it decently well at Florida State last year. So slotted in Miami at 9.
Honorable mention for me.
I don't even want to say my 10th. I'm too embarrassed. So I'm going to skip to my 11th. 11th was Stanford. I'll say it eventually, Kai. I'll say it eventually, but I'm skipping it for now.
Come on.
Oh, come on. What? Michael Jones, Spencer Jones, Jared Bynum. Bynum wasn't efficient last year, and I've kind of razzed him, but Angel can shoot the ball. And I think Andrei Stojakovic, maybe I'm giving too much value to the name, but I anticipate who will be a lights out shooter for them.
No, you're right. They're the best Pac-12 3-point percentage last year. So it's not a crazy inclusion.
Yeah, they got rid of O'Connell, who was like a 28% shooter. That lifts them a little bit.
Yeah, say the 10th. I agree with Russell. Say the 10th.
It's wrong, but there's 3 really good shooters on this team. Wisconsin, AJ Storr, Connor Segan, Max Klesmet, and then they've got some guys that shoot Hepburn, Wall, Crowell that don't really make them, but the top 3 is awesome. You had them, Kai?
I was in consideration. I think Hepburn was 40% last year, Jim. I think they actually have good shooters. Their offense sucked on the whole.
It's just so hard to watch.
They had shooters for sure.
Yeah. Matt, Wisconsin or even Miami or Stanford thoughts? Where do you land?
I just guess, Kyle, we just too out on Wooga Poplar to give Miami sort of credit in terms of backcourt. I don't know. I don't hate that. It feels too leveraged on one piece. Can we throw in the Jack Bunnies for consideration? Like I know they lost.
I put them 3rd. Yeah.
Okay, good. Kai,
they have 4 guys that could shoot over 40%.
Just ring the bell.
And high volume. Yeah.
They're not quite Colgate in terms of institutional proven success, but pretty damn near close in my opinion. So that was
last
the one
year was a weird year. 2 of them were hurt the entire season. So I think they're going to be a really good shooting team. Yeah.
Okay. So Matt, I have a couple other honorable mentions, but we can hit yours before we go back to mine. What do you got?
Who else did I have here that you did not mention?
More mid-major ones? You said you did mid-major quickly,
ones.
And you've already said you only said 2.
Said FAU, obviously.
I got a few.
Kai, go. Sorry.
I included Villanova. The percentages were not off the charts, but all 5 guys are shooters went on the floor with Dixon at the 5.
Yeah, I think I remember. I don't remember if I bet against Villanova or if I was on under, but where Eric Dixon was like 7 for 7 like from 3 to start the game. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I included Marquette as well with Kolek, Jones, Joplin, Mitchell, a lot of guys that can shoot. And I went Big East, man. I went UConn as well. Spencer and Caravan, Newton can shoot. I don't know if Castle can shoot. I'm not up to date yet on Castle's total abilities. But I assume
Spencer Caravan combo is just like, watch out. That's ridiculous.
And then Iowa, because it's Iowa, is what I wrote down. They'll probably be good at shooting this year.
2 different Sanfords. I love it. Oh, gotta have them. Yep. Matthew? Have you figured out who you wrote down?
I had Charleston. Sorry, I had Charleston. Kind of institutional as well. They got cheaters.
I think they were like 200th in 3-point percentage last year, though. They weren't. They didn't.
I know. They bounced back. Well. They were good because of all the possession stuff. They weren't even good because of what I think they can, in their DNA, do really well, and what Kelsey's done really well at Winthrop, and that's actually make threes. UNC Asheville was 8th last year, and a lot of that was Pember.
And Tyjon Jones, who's gone.
Tyjon Jones is gone now, too. But yeah, I mean, they have, I think, Fletcher Bees back, I believe, right? And they had Stepney back in the mix.
Hey, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid on Florida.
Pember probably just shoots 300 threes. It's probably good enough to get them there.
I'm nodding at you, Kai.
Yeah, Matt, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid on Florida, not a bad shooting team on paper, I think, this year.
Yeah, Clayton shot it really well.
Markedly improved.
Level.
Yep, that's a good point.
Google, Richard can really shoot it. I mean, last year, God, they were horrific from the perimeter, but now they have like 4 guys that can actually shoot. No front court shooter might hurt them, but they can play 4 guards.
True. Indeed.
I've got 2 other mid-major adjacent, maybe high major. New Mexico, again, I'm mentioning them because House, Mashburn, Baker, Amzil is a front court shooter that can kind of space it a little bit. And then this is one that I've written, and I know that this team can really shoot. Rice. Travis Evie is like
It's a
90
great
plus
plan.
type of threes. They Makai Mason shot 38% as a freshman. They brought in Alajiki, Shelby, Selden who can shoot. Sheffield hit a bunch last year. They spaced the floor really well. Big part of their offense. That team can knock it down from deep. They step up to the American though, so we'll see how that goes for them. Is that it? Is that it for shooting? Does that mean it's Mount Coachmore time?
And are we doing it in the fashion of Barstool, where it's a draft Rushmore style, Jim?
Yeah, snake drafts. You can't repeat, because otherwise we probably end up with like 2 or 3 of the same guys on each one.
Exactly. Yes.
I like competing. Kai, I'm going to let you go first. Matt second.
Oh, man.
I'll go third. Is that? Or do you
right.
not want that honor?
No, I can take it.
Or you can choose the order, Kai. You decide which spot you want.
I'll take first. And we're coaching this year, and really the last several years. I think this guy has earned it. I'm taking Kelvin Sampson at Houston as my first pick overall.
I ranked him second. Idiot. Ah, man, what a dumb take first.
Phew.
How dare you?
All right. Who's next? Is it Matt or Jim? I forgot already.
Matthew, and then I'll snake it with 2 picks.
It's Dusty May. It's the year Dusty May this year. It's just like what he did last year. Everyone's running it back. It's Dusty May, and he can actually coach at the elite level. So,
I mean, I put him like a question
it's for this year, right? For this year, right? Who do you want this year? Yeah, I want Dusty May.
Are you factoring the fact that his roster is so tailor-made to what he does? Is that kind of why you're?
And just the chemistry he has with that roster. 100%.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to pick the coach because of the roster though.
The team is an extension of the coach. Whatever, all the nonsensical cliches. Yeah, I'm Dusty May. So I'm a little younger than you guys did. I try to stay a little bit away. I have Sampson as my 4th member, but I try to go a little bit younger.
Okay. Well, he's not on your team. Sampson's gone.
He's on my team.
Sorry. So we're drafting here.
We're drafting.
He would have been in my my own personal coach, Mount Coachmore. I'm sorry.
All right. Quiet down, Jayhawks fans. I'm taking Bill Self. I mean, he just won a national title with maybe his not best team. Yeah, insane. Clearly knows how to adapt to his roster. He's played 7 different styles over the last 15 years, and he just won a title again. So it's not losing it. He's not. And although Matt, what's the joke if he shows up? I guess. Yeah, he wasn't there for the loss. But hey, maybe that's an argument for how important he is. So I will happily take Bill Self on the turn here. The other one I'm having a tougher time with because they've definitely had Sampson too. I will go with Mark Few of the Zags.
Yep.
Missing that elusive national title, but system wins over and over again. I think having a real point guard is going to make him look even better this year. That Hickman experiment was a little bit failed last year, and now Nembhard is just going to thrive. We've already seen one Nembhard thrive there. But Matt hates Graham Ike now, so he's out on Gonzaga.
I know. Sold my stock. It was a good run though, Graham. I appreciated your services while they lasted. My pick?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Shaka shaking in my Shaka boot, Shaka Smart.
All right.
Just a slam dunk for me. I think a parallel between FAU and Marquette, 2 teams that have every reason to come back down to earth this year, just with how far they exceeded, the upper bounds of what people thought they could do last year. But I think both of them will be all the way awesome this season.
All right. I'm going to take an old standby, Tony Bennett from Virginia. The coach is the coach.
Has-beens, you two.
They are good this year because of the coach. The roster solid, but the coach is what makes them really tick.
Matt's team recency bias over there. Kai, we're actually factoring in how good these coaches have been and will continue to be.
And you know who else is really awesome? And I'm going to take him too. And he doesn't get a lot of credit for this level because of the tournament success. Matt Painter is going to be my next choice here. Counting this up, 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the last 8 years, Purdue's top 10 in the country in KenPom. It's Purdue. It's not Duke. It's Purdue. And he's kept them at an elite level atop the Big Ten. I'm going Painter for this year.
Yeah. And if you're matching to roster, he's got dominant bigs. He's got a little more experience in the backcourt. There's every reason to believe that team's going to be awesome. Matt, that system likes continuity. 2 freshman guards running that system. That's tough. Now you got a little more seasoned veterans in the National Player of the Year. Come on, you got to love Painter.
No, I love Painter. I just couldn't draft him. I have to put him in timeout for a year after last year. Just 1 year. And then next season we do this whole thing over again, then he'll be at the top of my chart, but I had to put him in a 1-year exile timeout period.
So you would have looked like a real doofus if you put Tony Bennett in timeout for losing to a 16.
That's true.
I just took both 1 seed coaches to lose to a 16 seed there. Smart.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll go with I'm going to follow it up with another tournament shortcomer. Tommy Lloyd is my pick. Guy who has, barely scraped out of the round of 32 2 years ago. Then just last year, obviously, Princeton game planned them. Mitch Henderson coached circles around him. I might even say as far as to say, but love Lloyd. I just think he is an up and coming Mark Few with a more surefire, the same boilerplate system, talent, development scheme. It's all there for me.
I need to see more flexibility from him. We know exactly what he's like. We've seen that scheme rock, and maybe he's going to show it this year without the two true bigs, with more versatility at the 4 spot. But
yeah,
we're also going to see how he is as a coach, because he's got to rein in Caleb Love, and that's not easy. So I'm curious how that's going to go. Oh boy. So I got 2 here, huh? That's difficult. I've got a bunch of candidates I'm interested in. I thought about going, like Matt said, kind of going further down, like, all right, I'm bringing in Grant McCaslin as my defensive specialist, but I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to dip quite down. A little more proven at the high level. I will go with Scotty Drew at Baylor. I will say there's some skepticism here because of defense last year was just so bad. Couldn't really figure it out. Maybe it was personnel, but kind of a bummer not seeing him capable of adjusting and getting it done on that end. But he's really weaponized backcourts a lot lately, and I think that's kind of the way the game is, and he's been very rock solid about that. So my 4th one, probably controversially as well, but he's been a lot better at this school than I thought he would be. I'm going Mick Cronin 4th.
Look at you.
Awesome at UCLA. I don't know that I have like a big time defensive coach on my bench right now. Self is great, but Few, Drew, I don't think of them as like defensive stalwarts unless Scott Drew has Mark Vidal and Davion Mitchell. So I'll let Mick Cronin lead my defense. Matthias, that's my 4th pick.
I feel like people forget about Cronin because he is. You would think at UCLA he'd get more PR, and maybe he does. I just don't see it. But it is kind of seem like he's a forgotten, not always talked about anymore in that high end. Because they were the best team in the country before they got hurt last year. Wouldn't we all agree with that? Like that's what's not discussed.
You're up there for sure.
I mean,
is it because he was UCLA's like 10th choice as head coach? When
I think so, Kai.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like gotten like hand waved because of that. But he's been so good since he's been there.
He has been really good. Matt,
my turn. Torn between 2. And I'll just say both, and you can pick off the other one. No, there's probably other options. Randy Bennett and Sean Miller. Randy Bennett, I think, is an obvious one. Like, you don't need to explain to Randy Bennett. He's just a phenomenal coach. What he's done at basically a crackerjack jam up in Northern California, having the whole Australian pipeline forging the international. Yeah, love Randy Bennett. Sean Miller, I think, doesn't get enough credit for what he did last season with the guys he brought in, which really wasn't like an awesome roster on paper, but then to turn guys like Sule Boom into what he was, and then Jerome Hunter, who Indiana fans were like, that guy's gonna be good, that guy's gonna be good. And he put under Sean Miller's watch, and he is. Sean Miller can coach basketball, so I like.
So you're taking 5 coaches. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I'm taking Bennett, but I wanted to name both because I'm worried I'm going to miss Miller on the back.
I wanted you to take Miller so that I could say, oh, you've got 2 coaches that can't make a Final Four at Arizona.
Hey, Mark Few defender, tournament championships do not for whatever.
At least he's made a title game
and Final Four.
That's true, and he's been farther more consistently. Few has been much farther more consistently.
All right, so I got last pick here. Just to shut up the annoying guys out there, we considered Izzo. Okay.
Yes, we thought long and hard about Tom Izzo.
I just don't. He's fine. Really? He's got talent. I'm considering Patino. I think he's gonna have a great year, but I'm going Grant McCaslin, who Jim mentioned earlier. I think he's going to take off at Texas Tech, have a fantastic season. Sky's the limit. He is my 4th coach.
Okay, so no Tom Izzo. No John Calipari, which I guess is not really surprising at this point. How would you guys have ranked Musselman, Oates, Pearl out of the SEC?
Pearl 1. I'm going Oates 2 and Musselman 3.
Oates 1.
Okay. Wow.
Oates 1.
I would say Oates had a little more talent than Pearl last couple of years.
I need less ties from that. I need him to make choices. This is a clickbait mania.
I'll go Musselman just for 2 reasons. One, to defend myself against the Arkansas tomato throwing onslaught that's going to be coming regardless. But then I think the tournament success, while I often chalk up as fluky and positive variance, I do think the way he develops teams and coaches has an advantage in the tournament setting. And I think part of why he has gone farther consistently in the tournament. Talking about Musselman over Pearl in that regard.
Well, Pearl made a Final Four.
Right. Pearl's gone farther. One, I think that Musselman's gone farther more times, and I think going forward is more likely to go deeper more consistently.
He gets the most talent.
I think I'm going Oates 3. The style is the style there, but the other, especially if you're factoring what you're saying, Matt, like the way they're able to play in the postseason, like they're always a one cold 3-point shooting game from losing, like every single time. They don't have the same kind of like different ways of scoring and operating that gives them something to fall back on. One more question for you guys. How much did you consider Jerome Tang?
I consider him pretty hard.
Very seriously. Same. Jim actually had him above Scott Drew, which is probably stupid. I know, but I cannot believe how far we missed the mark on that team. And I think Jerome Tang was obviously getting Noel and the level that he went to, but Tang was probably part of that, and everything else he did with everything else was incredible.
Yeah. I almost took Tang just to have Tyler Perry's coach on my team.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tyler Perry's a guy you want on your team.
In the chat, Coach Hastings asked Chris Beard, where would he have been before the Texas fallout? I would almost guarantee one of us would have taken him prior to the fallout.
I probably would have taken him over Cronin as like defensive whiz, and I don't even know if that's right, honestly, given that like Beard since the 19 year hasn't been like that awesome, but he would have been absolutely in consideration. But we just didn't want to mess with that.
No, I worry that Beard's offensive ingenuity is maybe a step behind times a little bit. I worry about his offensive design sometimes with Beard. Nitpick, obviously, given what the hell he did at Texas Tech, my goodness, but like that's sort of why I wouldn't probably have him in the upper echelon at this point.
Fair.
Hey, the only other coach I had kind of listed here was Otzelberger at Iowa State, just because of the overachieving that we've seen the last 2 seasons. I don't think many coaches could have done that.
Yeah, the roster 2 years ago, we trashed them as bad as we trashed the K-State roster.
Right.
And he made Sweet 16, was undefeated in non-con. No Dan Hurley, no Jim Larinaga. Should those guys be in there? I don't know.
Yes, they probably should be. That's a great point.
I'll put Larinaga maybe.
Okay. We need more longevity out of Hurley.
Hey, Hurley himself says he has the best coaching staff in America.
Yeah, he does.
Agree.
He does.
Last year, that roster was pretty damn good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got. Matt, I figured Matt would slip a Mark Pope mention in there since he called him like a top 5 coach on one of our pods this offseason. But
it's just like I'm waiting for him to vault into that conversation again, but he needs a good year, like a really good, consistent year he hasn't had in a couple of years. So Big 12, baby. What a great playground to do that. Larinaga is just consistent tournament success.
Hey, if Mark Madsen gets Cal to like a 5 seed or something, Mark Madsen's going on the list.
Yeah, he just right. I agree with that. That concludes our clickbait episode. Thank you for clicking on our bait, eating the bait, swallowing the bait, consuming the bait. We will be back in T-minus.
We might take next week off still, Jeopardy? But 2 weeks is Jeopardy episode.
For sure, 2 weeks. Mark your calendar. Thank you, Russ, for running the show on that one. Next week is a maybe, but likely a no. Just follow us on 3NLeaf_CBB. That's Twitter. And you will get the updates of sorts.
Russ is demanding a worse Mount Coach more. We're doing interviews with these guys. We can't totally sell them under the river. But we know that Kenny Payne would be number one.
Let's peruse the list. Let's try and find. Yeah, Kenny Payne's in there for sure. Sorry, I'm not talking to Kenny. Yes, I'm not talking to Kenny, so I can say that with ease.
And his assistant Nolan Smith is second pick.
No, don't you dare throw shade at the people's channel. And that's
bad coach.
I don't think I'll ever talk to. Hopefully, I'll never talk to Hubert Davis, but he'd be on my worst more list of coaches right now. He's on the crap list, we'll say.
I said enough nice things about Stanford that I'm going to say Haas would be up there too.
Don't worry, he won't be a head coach for much longer.
I'm convinced Haas isn't that bad.
Hopkins,
make the case. He keeps bringing in 5-star talent and not making the
He's finally shred himself of this cancerous point guard play. Dejan, get him out of there. Mike O'Connell, get him out. Now they actually have a real point guard. I think that could be really good this year. That's my whole. Stanford decides. Kai, who'd you just say? Sorry,
Mike Hopkins. I think it's a vote for me.
Mike, great,
just
great
talented
choice.
Performance right
I
now.
Agree.
And Mike would admit it. I've never talked to Mike in my life.
They want to put English on there. I can't
No.
yet. I need him to
No.
underperform in the Big East. And then,
Great
then I will.
puff piece on the Athletic about him though. Go check that puff piece out for.
I love how
100
certain
puff piece on him.
the George Mason fan forums are just like so out on Kim English and so in on Tony Scannon. It's just so predictable, and I'm hoping they're right.
Well, I love
for
that.
both
If
you
Kim-
guys,
if Kim English
because I
was
like
still their
English. You
coach,
guys are the
I-
anti-English guys. I'm pro-English here, so I have no
I'm
dog
not
in this fight.
anti. I'm just
If-
anti crowning.
You're skeptical. You're skeptical. That's fair.
Yeah.
right now.
I mean,
Fair.
there's more evidence to be skeptical than there is to crown him.
There's
We'll
a
put it
ton of that.
way.
Yeah, that's fair.
If he was still their coach at George Mason, I feel like they'd be like, Kim English is still the king.
They would
It's just-
say that. Yes.
Who's your guy? You got to ride with your guy. I respect that. All right, Matt, we don't have to do a full mock coach more. Matt, I wanted to slip that in. Good. Finish your sign off. I
Great.
apologize.
Great. No, thank you, Russ, for the last second buzzer beater inclusion of content. That will conclude today's episode. Please come back and join us in 2 weeks for Geo Party. Until that time, take care.